Now, it could be something like 666. Well, yeah, that's Caesar. No, I don't like that answer. It doesn't matter. I explained to you I was fulfilled. Whether you like it
Yeah.
or not is irrelevant, right?
Yeah. Uh,
You might not
okay.
like
Okay. 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 Okay.
because you're not gonna like my interpretation. You'll be like, well, I don't think that's what it means. Well, that's fine, because if the meaning of the text is what it is, whether or not we accept the meaning doesn't dictate whether or not that's what the meaning is. Our ability or inability to comprehend the meaning of the text doesn't dictate what it really is, right? So that's kind of how we want
Yeah.
to be mindful of it too.
But
But we got to be convinced of it too, right? We got to be
this is
convinced.
also why a grander fulfillment also makes sense to me, because you're right. Okay, we know that the Nero thing adds up to 666, right? That's just the fact. However, uh, there wasn't there wasn't a mark on their hand or their forehead that they had to take. There wasn't the ability to cut people out of commerce and not be able to buy or sell without taking Nero's mark. There's stuff about that that doesn't seem like it was fulfilled historically, unless I'm missing some historical events that happened. And that would be a question for you. Did those things actually happen? Was there actually a mark on their forehead or their hand? Were they cut out of commerce entirely?
Right. And this is where I would kind of answer it in depends on the text we go to, like specifically this one. Was there a mark on their foreheads or their hands? I don't even think that's a little mark, anyways. It's not gonna be like literally 666 here or literally 666, because it tells you what's going to be on their foreheads or their hands. 666. Now you can say, is it literally 666? The number? Is that what you're saying? Or is it like pledging allegiance to your mind and your actions are devoted to the system of what's going on currently in that realm, which is Nero's
Ooh, I
reign
never
or
heard that
Rome's reign.
before.
Right?
Mind
So,
reactions.
yeah, well, that's
Oh
so
yeah,
that would be,
I actually believe that.
yeah. So I think you're going to pledge allegiance. I think what he's saying is either you pledge allegiance to the system or you cannot participate in. And I'll tell you what, during that season, if you were a Jew who did not pledge allegiance, you were cut off. And
What
that
if we
is,
already pledged allegiance? What if we already pledged allegiance? Like, what if the industrial um revolution, or maybe even the internet boom is what is
Nah,
when
it's got to
things
be it's
changed?
got to be conscious. You have to make a conscious decision to not choose Christ
Right,
and to choose the beast.
but what if the fact that we can't um see, how Ben, I've been saying this for like a year now, like this deception runs deep,
Right.
deception runs deep, right? Like what what if like we are living in that age, because we cannot buy or sell without like being in the system. I like what Ellie said earlier, mind, or what did you say, mind and actions in the system?
Mhm.
Yeah, like that
mind is devoted, committed, and the actions the
right.
hands does out and does what the
Yeah,
system.
I mean, look, the way the world was when it was first created is nothing like what it looks now, as far as what people do,
Yeah.
how people act, how people live, how people communicate, live together. Society, culture is very, very different. um i I don't know. I think, what if this is already something that's happened, and we're already a part of it.
Well, then welcome to dual fulfillment.
Okay,
Because
maybe.
it happened under Nero and it's happening again on a grander global scale, right? Sure, it might have happened to Jerusalem. That's not what it says there. It says that no one will be able to buy or sell. It's
Yeah,
referring to
under the rule of the beast, right? And we know at that
Mm,
time the Roman rule is what ran the lands. It's the system that you need to be a part of. Jerusalem was part of the Roman system. Anyone who rebelled against that system was cut off. That's how it was, which is why the Jewish revolt
yeah,
happened in 66.
but you could still have a piece of silver and go give it to somebody and eat an apple.
I don't I don't
You weren't cut out of commerce. You were actually able to buy and sell, whether you abided by Nero or the Roman system or not, otherwise you have to assume that he's just kind of being sarcastic or hyperbolic.
No,
And
I think it got to a point where it got to a stage in their history where because they revolted to such an extent that they were cut off from that system. They would not bow down to the Roman system. They were cut off and ostracized, and they were not allowed at that point.
So
I mean,
even within their own city, they weren't able to transact or
well, when
do
you look
anything.
at when you look at that 66 to 73, it kind of was, it wasn't that type of world anymore, as you're thinking like, hey, they were free to walk around and do their thing. And it was pretty much like they were done. They were surrounded, they were camped out, and there was hiding, there was running away, there was,
Right.
and it's like they had like what we had today, where it's like they had Amazon down the street, or Stater Brothers. No, a lot of their food came from their own crops. That's kind of how they survived.
Right.
Right. So it's not like they were like us, but the ability to buy and sell, that was most likely, from what I remember reading at one point, that was gone. They didn't have the ability to do that anymore. That doesn't mean they didn't have the ability to eat, because they were growing their own stuff.
Right.
But it was more like they didn't have the ability to move around because they were so against the Roman rule that Rome was after them specifically. And
And
they
so
were,
that would only apply to Jerusalem, right? The passages of buying and selling would only apply to the Jews.
well, I think anyone who did not bow down to that system, because what we know about the Jewish war, it wasn't just a Rome versus Jew thing. It actually involved nations around them too. So I am going to take that as the known, whereas they say the habitant world, right? The world at that time that was under the Roman rule, because the prophecies of the Old Testament, even Daniel chapter 7 and 2, is referring to the fourth beast. And the fourth beast was a fourth kingdom that we know refers to Rome. We know that. We're all in agreement with that. The first three kingdoms already came. The fourth kingdom, the fourth beast, rose up, and we knew that was Greco-Roman ruled under Julius Caesar and Caesar Augustus. So that was the fourth prophecy of Daniel, saying, hey, the fourth kingdom is going to come. And in Revelation, that's the beast that we're dealing with, is the fourth kingdom, right? And Daniel's prophecy is about how this fourth beast will eventually fail and lose, ultimately, when the Messiah comes and does his thing.